soon as I quit taping, I'll tell you something here.
What town we in?
Flag mine or something like that, ain't it? Whatever.
Yeah, they don't mark it very well, do they?
No, they sure don't.
Let's see.
Olden, you know, something other than Bill.
Yeah.
What, here?
Iberville.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Hey, that's interesting. Look at that old bridge.
What's the name on the water tower? Flaggy Mine or something like that. But,
What kind?
maybe
Oh, that's a bridge it raises. Look at that thing. That old rusty looking.
Oh, that is.
And they got a Flaggy Mine High School and everything.
Well, maybe it is.
Yeah, by old plague of mine or something. Yeah, there's a. Look at that thing. Isn't that strange? Is that an old rail bridge or something?
Look at that counterbalance.
Yeah, that counterbalance is weird.
That's wild, isn't it? I've never seen it like that.
Must be an old rail bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you this.
What they do down bridges.
Yeah.
Figure yourself in a wartime situation and blow one of these up and see how much it really affects.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Commerce and stuff. It's unbelievable what it would do.
Well, those Army engineers during the war, you know, with those pontoon bridges, those,
Yeah.
let's see, Bailey bridges and all
Yeah. Now, this is Baton Rouge here?
that. Yeah, coming over Baton Rouge. You know what Baton Rouge means, don't you, Matt?
No?
It means the red stick. The baton is red.
Yeah.
Baton is the
Yeah,
stick,
it's a stick.
and rouge is red. And they named it for that for the Indians in this area. I heard this. They had some kind of sacred ground or something that they had a kind of a post painted red to indicate I don't know what, but
Yeah.
I heard that one time. Forget what it was. Baton Rouge. And there's the there's the river.
At least they tell you.
Yeah, 110. Yeah, 1 mile.
Look at that. Oh, well, it's hard to see now. The bridge.
Yeah, there we go. There's Baton Rouge.
Military, something or other. It's up on.
Cruise 61 on this,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, those boats and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look like a.
probably casinos and stuff. I imagine.
No, it's military, Navy.
Oh, I see. Well, probably
Up on
casino.
the
Probably shooting
Yeah.
dice and stuff. Well, yeah, everywhere, anywhere. Wow, look at this place. It's neat. Yeah, it is interesting. Let's see, I gotta get the Texaco sign. Here. got to get the Elsie milk and ice cream. Got all kind of stuff inside. All kind of stuff. I want to get a shot at this Natchez Visitor Reception Center. It's the biggest thing like this I've ever seen. Man. It's huge.
Natchez is here, and what it is, because of the Mississippi River. It was always the river.
I have a Shangri-La place. It's down on the bluff, and looking up, you see the whole panoramic view of the river.
I love to go to the river and just watch the sun go down. I love to throw rocks in the river and just kind of wonder where's that rock going to end up.
You can stand on the bluff at Natchez and look to the north and know you can go all the way to Minnesota. Look to the left, you can go all over the world.
As far back as memory goes, the river is a silver thread tying place to place, people to people.
Once you get beyond sight of the bluffs of Natchez, then the river essentially looks no different than it would have looked to LaSalle when he came down 300 years ago.
The Natchez Indians were the last major Indian group to occupy this area before Europeans came in and took over. They used the Mississippi River as a way to get from one place to another and to carry on trade and exchange information. When you look at, for example, Emerald Mound, which was built by the Natchez, you get an idea of the amount of free time these people had.
As the Natchez Indians knew here, each season has its own distinct character.
I used to think that the summer was the most wonderful time in the world. I went in bare feet. I'd get dusty and sweaty, and it didn't matter. It's wonderful.
I like old hot summer.
Long, lush summers are good for crops, good for fishing, good for visiting.
The first sustained European contact with the Natchez Indians took place in 1682 when the LaSalle expedition, coming down the Mississippi River in canoes heading for the Gulf of Mexico, met Natchez fishermen along the river. LaSalle spent a couple of days visiting with the Natchez Indians and meeting the tribal chief at the Grand Village.
He was followed by other Frenchmen who set up a fort here in 1716 named Fort Moseley.
Early on, the relationship between the Natchez and French was a fairly good relationship. There were some conflicts, but overall the two groups were able to coexist. The disaster finally occurred when the Natchez rebelled against the French colony. Through a very brief war, the Natchez were forced out of this area and never really allowed to return.
Natchez also has an interesting complexity of layers. You have an ancient Indian layer. The French culture, of course, came with the French explorers and settlers. The Spanish did a great deal to determine the physical aspects of downtown Natchez particularly. The English made large contributions, and the contributions of African Americans sort of underpinned each group.
People coming, people going, people staying. All of them mark this land.
Almost all of our major arteries in this area
are on old Indian traces and trails.
The white man just took over from the Indians and continued to use this trace through the years.
In the old days, the 1700s, under the Spanish, there were some pretty vicious cutthroats on the Natchez Trace.
Out of the Hill was basically the end of the Natchez Trace.
They call it the worst hellhole on the river. A drinking town, a gambling town, and a killing town.
While Under the Hill was being tamed, up on the bluff, Natchez was growing in size and in wealth.
The question is, how did these big old houses get in this little tiny nowhere place? And the answer is cotton. Cotton was produced on the Mississippi River in the greatest concentrations of anywhere in the world at that time, and that it made enormous wealth. And the planters lived not on their plantations, but at Natchez. And it was here they built their great houses. Here they gave their parties, they did their business.
If it had not been for the black people in the shacks behind the big houses, there would be no big houses, because we tore the land, we planted the cotton, we picked the cotton.
In the land of cotton, fall is harvest time, and the fields turn white.
I love the four seasons of Natchez, especially the fall. All the beautiful leaves, the different hues and colors, and it's just magnificent.
It's cool and leaves begin to trickle down, and it's a beautiful time of the year.
One fall season, a new sound was heard in Natchez.
Well, the first steamboat, of course, to come down the Mississippi River came down in 1811.
Well, of course, Natchez is a little different from other river towns in that we, in the 19th century, didn't have the railroad or highways, and the river was the way to go.
In 1838, Natchez region produced 40,000 bales of cotton just in this region alone. Had it not been for the steamboats, there's no way they could have gotten that cotton to market.
One of those boats has 8,848 bales in it.
The river is where you hear the calliope even today playing on the riverboats as they arrive or depart from the landing, where it's always been down in Natchez under the hill.
It's kind of like a whole 200-year history of the river occurring as you watch them cast off the lines, fire up the calliope, and motor off.
Above the busy river, great houses were rising in tribute to the wealth of the planters and the skill of the builders.
We had a large number of very wealthy people, and most of them chose to live here in Natchez. They built these big homes.
The houses were constructed almost entirely from local materials. For wood, they would go up into the swamps and cut down the cypress trees. For bricks, the slaves primarily were employed. They were often made right on site where the house was being built. That was the case with longwood.
Longwood is the ideal example of antebellum construction. Until about 20 years ago, the hammers and saws and paintbrushes were scattered all over the place, where they just dropped them, and for 100 years they hadn't been moved.
The actual construction of the house, we know, employed not only men, but also women and children.
It's almost awe-inspiring to look at some of the buildings built with a lot of slave labor and with hand tools.
Longwood is an amazing thing, especially at Christmas time when all the tiny white lights are out. Take your breath away.
Christmas and winter, a special time in Natchez.
Christmas is always a joyful time in Natchez. The lights are bright and twinkling and sparkling.
Christmas had a special magic in itself for bringing out the best in people. And the city was always a showplace.
The winter is cold, not consistently, but it's cold. It's winter, and we have snow every now and then.
If it snows, of course, we close the town down.
One particular winter became a turning point in the city's story.
During our Living History program at Melrose, we depicted the Christmas of 1860. which was a very difficult time in this area because it was just before the secession meetings. And so there was much turmoil and much talk about politics. Natchez was a divided city. It was more Union than it was secessionist. And yet, once war was declared, most of Natchez supported it.
Our homes and buildings were not destroyed as there were in so many other beautiful southern towns.
We sent 1,444 men off to fight for the Confederacy, and approximately 250 of them did not return.
When the Civil War ended, Natchez entered a new era.
Natchez rebounded quickly. Economically, we did well.
But the Jewish merchants saved this town in the post-Civil War days, really built this town up.
We saw a shift in power from a society dominated by the planters to a society dominated by merchants, where most of our great mansion houses are pre-Civil War. Our downtown is primarily a post-Civil War architectural phenomenon.
As the 20th century dawned, the town was prosperous, but there were dark days ahead.
The boll weevil had come to Natchez in 1908, and it, more than the Depression probably, and more than the Civil War, changed Natchez economically.
And everybody, whether black or white, became poor. So much so that when the American Great Depression came in 1929, they hardly recognized the difference.
We couldn't afford to tear down and build modern structures, so we kept what we had as intact as possible.
Even when times were hard, everyone looked forward to spring.
And then comes Mother Spring again, and everything seems to be right with the world.
Spring is so spectacular that it's just almost like nature had just wrapped all of the other seasons into one and said, look at me, I'm beautiful.
Spring is an exciting time because everything is budding and it's full of life, and bees are buzzing about, and everything is just beginning to bloom.
I like spring best of all, and that's when we have our pyramids too.
It was spring 1932 when Natchez for the first time invited the world to visit.
It was the Ladies' Garden Club that started the pilgrimage back in the early 30s, and it was the ladies who started saying, well, maybe people would really pay to come see this.
We grew up in these houses with these furnishing and with the silver and the crystal, and we used it every day, and it was nothing unusual. In the houses during pilgrimage, you have the hostesses that dress and tell you about the various things in the house.
As people were cleaning up their houses and putting flowers in them to show them to visitors, that became the time to entertain.
I think pilgrimage has been marvelous for the town. It has really preserved us, not only with the houses, but with all the buildings and with the history and with the whole thing.
The streets of Natchez are eloquent with buildings that speak of continuity, time, and the human spirit.
The churches of Natchez are really magnificent. It's a great collection of all the styles of architecture, almost, that were popular before the Civil War. The largest of them all is St. Mary's Cathedral, the Gothic edifice, constructed in 1841. The very chaste and massive qualities of the Greek Revival Church at Trinity Episcopal are themselves the epitome of the Greek Revival architecture. And then the very prim and proper style of the First Presbyterian Church, that neoclassicism, very refined in an American way. The style that came after the Civil War for churches was quite often Romanesque. And an excellent example of that is the Jefferson Street Methodist Church. The latest magnificent church built in Natchez is actually a temple of the name Israel, built in 1906.
A is a story about people. People in the past and people today.
The people of Natchez are just wonderful. The Natchez people, I think, do have a rather special quality.
I don't think of Natchez as a place that fences in its people or fences out other people.
Natchez has always been sort of a free community to some degree, and people were not necessarily inhibited from being what they can be.
The people of Natchez are what makes Natchez unique and special.
Most of the people who live here in Natchez have a certain pride of being who they are.
Here, people like to share the story of their town.
Natchez has always liked pageants. It's typical of Natchez to want to parade, to show off, to have a good time doing it.
One of the interesting things is the Confederate pageant. That's all local talent.
And I remember my costume there. It was white organdy with a white lace bonnet and deep velvet green ribbons that tied under my chin, which itched and scratched.
It's wonderful for the children because it gives them a self-presence. Performing gives them a certain amount of self-confidence. They complain about the ballet slippers, but they put them on.
Natchez children, I think, because of this constant performing they do from the time they're 3 years old, they never lack self-confidence.
In Natchez, celebration is a way of life. Music, history, and the Mississippi River. All of these come together in one Natchez event, the Great Mississippi Balloon Race.
Instead of going out to a large field remote from town, our balloon race is held in the historic district. And the thrill is watching the balloons sail among the historic buildings and go over the Mississippi River.
If it's a smooth river that day, you also get the perfect reflection of the balloons in the river.
Natchez and the river. The story lives on.
The southern charm of Natchez, the beautiful homes, nice people, and it's just a combination that's hard to beat.
We've had everything that's made this country great. Every nation, every group of people. We're just part of this quilt. It's hard to walk away from something like that.
It's been a wonderful life. I wouldn't want to be anyplace else.
I've been in Natchez all of my life. I've never felt the temptation to live anywhere else. And if I were tempted, I still wouldn't do it. So, it's Natchez.
I'm going to sit No, welcome to Natchez. I'm Doris, and thanks for taking our tour. New Orleans to the south, and the word Natchez means unknown. That name comes from a tribe of Indians that was here. In 1716, when the first white settlers came here, and the colors are mostly in solid brick with a cement or stucco overlay. It is open year-round for tourists. It's owned and operated by the DAR. Straight ahead to the right, that's the Neal Street Depot. That's one of 3 working depots that was here at the turn of the century. Today it houses the Pilgrim's Tour headquarters and some gift shops. And the one getting off here said thanks for taking our tour.
Okay.
I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope I've told you something about our city. There's some historic buildings on that street too. Round the corner on the right side of the street, you're going to see a brick house with yellow on the side. That's the William Johnson House. The Power Service restoring that home to put on tour. He was a former slave here. His master set him free when he was 11. He later became known as the Barber of Natchez. He had 3 barber shops, one in Natchez, Vicksburg, and Pope Gibson. Later, he went into land business. He kept a diary. Everything went on in the city. He recorded it each night, and it's about 30 miles south here with Mississippi over land dispute. Now, should you come down, you'll get a little hungry. The Peabody Inn to the left with the pig smiling out nice and friendly. That's the Peabody Inn restaurant. They serve good Texas-style barbecue and smoked corn on the cob. Back to the right, behind the wrought iron fence, that's the banker's house. Dates 1833. It's open during the spring pilgrimage only. And that's known for its hand-carved woodwork and a lovely rosewood piano. That home there belonged to a banker. He built his house and his bank, sharing the same wall and the same door. When he went to work, he just stepped out his parlor. He was at work in his bank. Then he put his bedroom right over his wall. Then he put him some stairs that led from his bedroom down to his bar. And years later, that hall was turned into a boarding house. It was run by 3 Miss Bolsters. According to the register back there, Frank and Jesse James spent several nights in that home, but the bank was out of business during that time. Now this is Canal Street. There was a shadow canal that filled it in and made a street. And we get ready to cross Franklin Street. It's one way to the right. But they also calls it Antique Road because of all the antique shops on it. Whatever you're looking for, you should be able to find it right there on Antique Road. Still to the right, high up on the hill there, that's the house on Ellicott Hill. It dates 1798. It's open, it's got a gift shop. Look right up the stairs so you can see a portion of the gallery. Ellicott was a surveyor sent in here by President George Washington, surveyor of the Mississippi Territory. Now the brick building to the left with the green shelters are those 3 shotgun houses. Still coming up to the right is going to be the City Auditorium. It dates the late 30s and early 40s. That was a WPA work project after the Depression years. That's where the pageant being held this year showed the life and time before and after the Civil War. Okay, we're going to turn on High Street. We're going to travel it for a little bit. We're working our way to Stanton Hall. Now on the way, you're going to pass Choctaw to the right, more college in the rear than the front. That was the style back then. That date's 1836, and it's not occupied, never open for tourists. It's owned by the American Legion. Sticks. The shade of blue in the roof is supposed to keep dirt dogs and birds away. Lady rode my bus a little while back. She said, "Baby, got this shade of blue in our home. It don't have any effect on the pigeons." Coming up to the right still, it's going to be Merlin Tears the Carriage House. Date's 1851. And right past the Carriage House, the Merlin Tears the House. Date's 1844. That fence is original. That home there belonged to the steamboat captain, Captain Thomas Levels. He was the captain of the steamboat Natchez that was in the race with Robert E. Lee on the Mississippi River. Captain Levels, he lost that race. Now we're coming onto the grounds of Stanton Hall to the right. It dates 1857. That was built by Frederick Stanton on Belfast Island. It is open year-round for tourists. It's owned and operated by the Garden Club. Now the fence in the trees is original to the property, and the property takes up a block on all sides. That building is solid brick with a cement overlay. Now we're going to Circus Stanton Hall in a few minutes. We're going to be coming on the other side. Railroad tracks is in use today, but to local traffic only, like the International Paper Company. While you're visiting our city, if you get unpleasant odor, that will be our paper mill. Now coming across the street to the right, the little gray building set behind the white picket fence, that's our newest bed and breakfast. But they call that house there the Wall House or the Bellum House. The reason they call it that, that's known as house that was built in the city of Natchez during the Civil War. The Civil War was from 1861 to 65, and Bellum is Latin for wall or bound. Antebellum means before the Civil War, before 1861. We have got hundreds of buildings in the city that's considered to be antebellum. It don't have to be a mansion to be antebellum. It can be a shed, barn, store, any building that dates before 1861 or the Civil War is antebellum. Now we get ready to travel on the other side of Stanton Hall. We'll be there in a second. Now I told you he was from Belfast Island. When he first built his new home, he named it Belfast because that's where he was from. He was one of 3 brothers that came here. He was 19 when he came to Natchez. Now as we travel, I tell you about the cement and stucco over the bricks. 3. The back house is Stanton Hall stairs that's going from one floor to the other. Wrought iron column. Big columns on the front and all that ironworks there is that is original to that building. That light wrought iron fence on the side, the heavy wrought iron fence in front, that's original. 6 bedrooms upstairs. Well, he should have went out taking the whole street. Now the trees on the property there is live oak trees. They planted 19 of those trees when they built the home, and 17 of them still alive. It takes a while to get just about. Maybe you can see a little bit if I creep real slow across it. Now Mr. Stanton, he completed his new home in 1857 and he moved in and he passed in 1858. Still belong to the Stanton. It's going to be to the right, the little small brick building. That was the Stanton Horse and Mule Stable. Next to that is the Linton Townhouse. And right on the corner, still to the right, by the stop sign, that's the Wilson Townhouse. Place 1835. Now the reason the gallery there has got 2 sets of stairs, back then the men's wasn't supposed to see the ladies' ankles. So one side was for the ladies, another side was for the men's, and that way the men's couldn't see the ladies' ankles when they went up the stairs. We gonna go down a portion of downtown Natchez, let you see what's left of Natchez now. Back in the 70s, we had all kinds of stores up here, 4 theaters, but the mall put them out of business. That furniture store to the right was an S.H. Press 5 and Diamond. Back to the left with the different colors, that was the Rich Theater building. Now they set up Natchez some clubs, said they was going to restore the block straight ahead. They were supposed to bring all that back up here like it was in the 70s store theater. That was in the paper over 2 years ago, and that's the progress they have made so far. In the 70s, a lot of time you come to town, it was going to be hard to find a parking place. You just go round and round in circles till somebody would pull out and you would be able to pull in. Franklin and Main Street was your 2 main shopping streets, but we had department stores on the side of the street too. Now most all you're going to find is antique shops. That's why they call Franklin Street Antique Row, and we're traveling down Antique Row right now.
I'm going to turn at the light, but it's antique shops all the way to the end of the next block. To the right here on the corner, that's Wilson Drugstore. That's the oldest drugstore in the city. It's the last one uptown. All the rest of it's out in the malls and area like that. Used to be 4 or 5 up here. Right across the light to the left, you can see the right on Doma's old drugstore. They had a fountain in there. Now Wilson right here, they'll bring you medicine to you right there. If you've got medicine you need and you don't have a way to come get it, they'll deliver it to you.
18. 19.
Come the way across to the right, great big tall speaker, that's St. Mary Catholic Church. It dates 1845. You can tour that building, there's no charge. You don't have a tour guide, but a priest is there at all times. Out back there is Memorial Park, Wall County, Memorial to the Confederacy. Look at that rifle bell that's pointed in the downward position. That's the surrender position. That park was a cemetery. And when they got ready to put the park there, they dug up all the bodies and they carried them to the city cemetery and they reburied them out there. Now October 28th and the 29th, they don't give tours of that city cemetery. From 6:30 in the afternoon to 9:30 at night. I don't know what they're looking for. I know I won't be out there with them. I won't be home. I told them I'm not going to drive a bus either. Me and dead folks in the cemetery, we don't get along very well. I respect it. They say let them rest in peace, and that's what I'm going to do.
Amen. That's right.
Coming up on the hill to the left behind the trees is going to be Greenleaf, 1842. That is open. Still to the left of on the hill is going to be the Presbyterian Mass. It's 1830. That's where the preacher lives up there. Now down here in Historic, unless you get approved first from the Historic Society. A few years back, a couple bought a hog here and they changed the color on it. Historic didn't like it. So they carried them to court to make them change the color back on their home. Now when we cross the light, we're going to be traveling on Homerchiller Street. We're going to travel it for a few minutes. And the first building is going to be coming up to the right. Big columns out front. There was a school, but not anymore. They use it as a school administration building. And it dates 1927. That's built to look antebellum with the big columns out front and the 12 over 12 windows, but it's not antebellum. Back before the turn of the century, Natchez was considered to be the Beverly Hills of the South. Natchez had as many millionaires back then as it is in New York City today. That's why the capital was located in the city of Natchez. They put it in Jackson. Natchez wanted and tried to get the capital located here. There was a school too once, but not anymore. And back to the left coming up with all the branches across the streets, that is Twin Oaks. It dates 1812. And it gets its name from the two trees on the property. That's a bed and breakfast. Now coming up to the right is going to be Dunleavy. It dates 1856. Was built for Charles Dover. Look at the columns on that building. It's 26 of those columns go all around the building. Originally set on about 43 acres of ground. That's a bed and breakfast. Slave quarters and kitchen there has been turned into guest quarters. It's open for tourists. A beautiful garden is out back. It's a magnolia tree out back that's over 200 years old. The branches have fallen down to the ground and they are rooted. That big is originally most of those live oak trees was planted when that house was built. Now the next home is up to Dunleavy was out about that place out of the public speaker, maybe became the first African American to hold a public office in the state 1800. That was home of one of the Spanish government that was here. But that was also the home of this Catholic Miller. This bill is the lady that started the pilgrims here in Natchez. In 1839, COONCE ladies had planned to hold a flower show here, and they invited a lot of people to come down and go through the gardens to look at the flowers. But a big freeze came, destroyed all of the flowers, so they didn't have the flowers to show. They said all the ladies was upset and wondered what was going to do with people coming down to see flowers, and it wasn't any. So they suggested let's hope of these no homes when they get there, let them go through them, so maybe they're a feasible level. So that's what they did. They said the people came down and they went through these homes, and then drug killing started. To the right, you're coming in the front of Auburn. Auburn days 1812, that was built by Levi Weeks, the Jewish Minor Party. This is the home here. They have the freestyle and unsupported staff to go one floor to the other. They say down through the years, a lot of people came down, went to their home and looked at those there, tried to figure out how to get them to stand freely and unsupported. But so far, no one's been able to figure it out yet. A lot of houses padded out to the front of that home. The White House in Washington is one of them. The only problem there is going to find a chapel, schoolhouse, and a vacant lawn. So in 1911, is the settlers at the house and ground back there, 210 acres of property to the right, to the city of Natchez as a tax write-off. The city lived there to the right, and they made a pond and named it Duncan Pond in memory of Duncan Duncan. Out there you got 390 trail. Melrose is the oldest home in the city that still have all its original buildings sitting on its grounds like it was in 1800. It's got the original furniture in it too. All the rest of this went to bed and breakfast, restaurant, things like that. They picked out buildings up and changed them. But Melrose have to have the original ones on this ground. On the grounds of Melrose, you're going to find slave quarter, dairy, smokehouse, outdoor premise, Celtic, a beautiful lake. The kitchen was on the bottom floor and the slave quarters on top. All the homes back then had the kitchen away from the main house. Because the kitchen comes out about every 4 years, so they get away from the main house, protect the main house. The lower portion between the buildings is where they were joined together sometime later. Then they moved it down with the wind. The doors of Taurus was patterned after these front doors. In there, you'll find a wood band hanging on the dining room table. They call it a apartment band. Melrose got the same band. That's what the slaves would stand there and they would pull a string, make it swing back and forth to keep them moving and to keep the bugs off of them. The columns on that building, they're recycles. The gallery stained 6 feet long. The same family, the Collins family, have lived in that home over 100 years. Today it's owned and operated by Mrs. Jeanette Felchers, and she's the son of the Collins family. Now Thomas Reed, the man built his home back in 1800. Him and his family owned slaves, but didn't approve. They fought for the freedom of the slaves, but they was considered slaves when we rented out in the city. Solid brick with a cement stuff no overlay. Both the Mexican passed of yellow fever. They was out one day and on the way home. They came across a cousin there, sick on the roadside. So they bring him home to nurse to him. Within 48 hours, the cousin was dead, and 2 to 3 weeks later, so was the case. Yellow fever was real bad back then. They say it was being transmitted from Natchez under the hill. In the 1816, it was built by the James Circle Point. They made a nice little doses what it's going for. They say they keep sand like that over being too. And that building out back is where she stayed horizontally to was being built. All these homes took 5 years along the build because everything was made on site. The first large tree that branch on the ground, that's a live oak, and then the next big magnolia tree. Those trees came when she built the home. That home Over here coming up is going to be a Victorian house that's been renamed in the gingerbread fashion. Now the plantation, they didn't like down south during the summer. It was too hot. So they would go north for the summer till the fall of the year when the weather would get cooler. Then they would come back down south and they would load the books and check them out to see how much money they made while it was down. And from then on, they was just going one big ball after the other for the rest of the year. When the weather got hot again, they would go back up north. Coming up here to the left, when you bring it on and out front, that is the Natural State Laundry. That's the oldest laundry in the city. I tell everybody, if you got something need cleaned, they have to carry it there. They can't clean it. You probably should just throw it away because probably nobody's going to get it clean. To the right, the building that was green on out front, that was a little shopping mall back in the 70s. Today, that is Main Street Marketplace. They sell fresh fruit, vegetables, homemade items. Main Street was busy too back in the 70s. Right here to the left is the white building there. That was McCoy's Body Down. Next to that was J.C. Penney. Next to that was a little store called Pawnee Shops. And back to the right with a stripe on it, that was the Cicero bookstore. Next to that was the theater. When it's open, it's got a sign sitting on the sidewalk. That's the entrance to a photo museum. For about $3, you go there, go through that building, look at all the photos of Natchez from before the Civil War, past World War II. And coming up ahead, right on the left there, to about a stop sign, big house out front, beautiful stained glass windows, that's the Jewish temple, dates 1843. You can tour that building by point. Now they say the Jewish population here in the city just vanished. They say they don't know what happened. Whether they got rich to move back up north or whether they passed away. Because that's a solid brick building with a cement overlay. But it's got scoring in the side to make it appear to be concrete blocks. And to the right, that's Glen Orbit, 1875, carriage steps on the sidewalk. That's been named the most classic Victorian home in the lower Mississippi Valley. That home there is proudly owned by Dr. Ms. Neal Natchez. And back in the South, the George Hamilton bought that home for his mother. Coming across the street, it's going to be driving out when they turn that over. Something wrong, this is going to be in, but I don't know what they're going to have there. Sell for it? I don't know what it's sold for. Probably pretty expensive. The little home I showed you with the 12 over 12 windows and 2 domes, that was on sale for about 2 years. Actually, I know the boss, he said they was actually. That's the last mansion that was built in the city before the Civil War. That's open, that's got a museum and a costume museum in it. And back to our left, right here, the black line down front, that's the Nola Hotel, that's 1927. That was the first hotel to come to downtown Natchez. It's the last one today, y'all. The rest of the Sunhouse First of Town. 5 streets down there, 2 racetracks, and Peter Dillon had the lower meal. And coming up to the left still is going to be the Forest Club. It makes 1852, that's the second home, Peter Dillon built. He built that one for the preachers.
Parsonage, boy. Nice parsonage.
Now we are coming in the front, Rosalie. This our front here side with this foot up this section. Rosalie's got more colors in the rear than the front, which was the style I told you. It's got the old Delta furniture in it. They give us regular tours, they are taking their tours. Now Peter Dillon, his wife, Eliza, they was passed when the Civil War came and they didn't have any keeping it.
Yeah, you know, there's a sign that says, that points down the hill. Didn't you notice it wasn't so cheap?
No, I did not.
The brown sign out the light down there.
So we take a left at the light.
Well, let's see, I think the arrow shows left, doesn't it? Yeah, down the hill. Yeah, the next. Yeah, that's the one way. Yeah, right here. Matches under the hill.
Yeah, if we don't find someplace down here, that big place might not be better.
Yeah.
This is it, don't shoot.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, here it does. No, we had a lot of money back then. When there's money to push it.
Because they promoted their history.
Yeah, they have. Preserved it, promoted it really well. Kansas City, there's a bunch of it, but they're all old, falling down factories. Nobody knows anything about
Yeah,
it.
exactly, and then you don't take a bus
Yeah,
through.
we've got a lot of old buildings, but who knows what they used to be. I just want to take that one.
That's under the hill.
I kind of want to take that, what was it, mobster tour, what do they call that, Dad?
Oh, in Kansas City?
Kansas City,
Yeah, that's a gangster tour. I don't know if it's good or not.
That'd be fun.
I kind of wanted to take that one, but I never heard much about it. I saw it in the newspaper.
It may have fizzled. You never know.
I know there were some people irritated about it because they thought they were glorified.
And they had I think a 1940s car, you know, from the 40s.
Yeah, they showed the bullet holes in
Yeah.
the Union Station.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
We can drive down with the chance of finding a parking spot, or we can walk down and park there.
Let's walk down.
And we can always go around.
All right. Sounds good. Oh, yeah. And the Johnny Diamond is kind of an old man. Yeah.
Okay, who wants first?
Okay. Big Mississippi. This is Natchez. And this is the bridge here. This is Natchez under the hill where the steamboats used to land and where the riverboat gamblers and all held court. Alright, here we are on the old boardwalk.
Check what comes in the sheriff's office.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it is a restaurant.
Yeah.
Tables. Yeah, we haven't eaten yet.
Like you said, Milt, it shouldn't have taken 4 of you. Right? Like you said, Milt, it shouldn't have taken 4 of you. Yes. Verdillion Traherne. Look at the side of this chair, this rocking chair. What's that? That's a rocking chair and a half. Riverboat gift shop.
Let's see,
Yeah, Kentucky. What whiskey? The whiskey, yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good one there. The light post. Yeah.
Right about here against that light pole.
Okay. Ready to get before they run over you, man. The song. Folks are loading up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I know one thing. Yeah. All right.
Well, it looks like all of that's closed.
It does. It's a site. I thought there'd be a lot more down here, but
It could be just starting to.
yeah, 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 we have. This is where the riverboats landed, and this is where the honky tonks and the
They haven't preserved any of it, it's all gone.
yeah,
The gamblers and the shooter out.
the riff women and yeah,
Well, that's too preserved.
yeah, probably not. Probably. And pretty in Mississippi. That's some of the gardens going up Mississippi. Yeah, yeah.
Runsburg is what it said on that green sign. I don't know if that's the name of the town, but. Where are we from Pittsburgh? Should be too far. About 25 miles. 26, 27.
And a little of that.
Well, I heard stories about it and even seen patches of it, but I hadn't seen anything like that.
It Yeah, weird. Not glad.
Yeah. Go see something like that. Yeah, on the left. Yeah, it's coming up them trees. The utility pole there, the wire is going up. Look at that pole there.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cell sites were good. That's on our side there.
Oh, there's some there, a lot of it. Yeah. Well, it runs out all abruptly, doesn't it? There's some more over there. Bunch of it. That tree. Yeah. Yeah, there it is, all around there. Yeah, it's everywhere. My goodness. Yeah. Mercy. Yeah. Yeah. Seems like he just before he gets to town, I guess he's got to get his licks in when he can. Look at that. My goodness. All right. Okay.
Back over in here.
Yeah. Oh my word. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I think I can get it from here.
Both in Harlem.
Then, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that wall's actually draped over a power line.
Man.
And there's the pole right there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Stuff's taking over. You don't remember what they call that?
We got paper on it, maybe.
Yeah. Well, at least we got a good view. You want me to give a close up of it? Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
All right.
We'll take off.
All right. There, then you. Yeah, that's something else in there.
That's what I was looking for, that power pole and those power
Yeah, man.
utility lines.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something else in there.
Yes.
Okay. I think I got it pretty good. King Kong. Oh, okay, now go back out. Oh, no.
We're just assuming.
Yeah. Hitler never said he was a dictator either.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. It don't count if you don't say.
Yeah, I think that's it, right to our left. And then we can drive up to the camp.
Toll-free lodging.
Yeah, that is pretty. Look at that. You can see that.
Even if this is locked up, we may be able to pick up some literature.
This is Vicksburg, Mississippi. Vicksburg. Yeah.
Pretty. Pretty up here.
Beautiful. That's okay. It showed how big it is when you're in the picture. Pretty girls. How old are they?
2 and 3.
Oh, wow.
You say hi? That is another boat, isn't it? Ah, that's a large boat. That's a tugboat, I mean. Oh my goodness, look. They're really, really big tugboat. Yeah, you see it there? Yeah, we see it on the other side? Really, really big. Stay right here.
Apparently this bridge here is closed off, or this one here on this side?
I guess so, yeah.
Maybe it's not a real bridge, is it? I don't think it is.
No, it looks more like an old-fashioned bridge.
Yeah, they closed it down.
Kind of pretty though, isn't it?
Yeah?
You can walk right there, probably.
Yeah. Is that Chief?
Yeah.
But it's going under the bridge tug, going under the bridge. There's a Mafu right there. Mamu? Howdy.
Yeah, it's kind of dark, isn't it? Pretty in here, though. Yeah.
Pretty. I just want to show you that on these street corners they got scarecrows. This is old man Daniker here. Here's another one right there.
Yeah, Vicksburg isn't very big.
Yeah, I thought it would be a pretty big size.
It's a neat looking downtown.
That's where somebody sitting on that hill.
Wow. Hello, yellow ball. There's another one.
Dad gets the cold, he never stops.
Quote to Frederick, nevermore.
Like they've overhauled their downtown center, made kind of mall out of it.
It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Like it, yeah. Fancy. Oh, here's another scarecrow on the corner.
Now open attitudes.
Deep roof.
One. Well, on every corner, but they have them here and there. Yeah, it's really neat. I like it. Trying to get it this time. Yeah, this is City Hall here. Right.
And then on the other side, it says 1903.
Oh, no, we're trying to get rid of us relaxing. Do that.
That's a bank.
Yeah.
You see the end. Well, there's just a big sign, so I haven't seen it yet.
Wow, that's pretty. To the side, what is that? What is it, building? Courthouse? Insides?
That's the courthouse, man.
Oh.
First officer courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
We found something here.
What'd you find?
Oh, look at that building up there. Cliff, what is that, church or?
Is that state capitol, is that here?
Might be.
It was in Jackson, yeah.
Wow.
Boy, that didn't look like it's like a
That's
state
pretty
capitol,
though.
did it? Oh, where said anything in Jackson was like. She said that on the tour, though. I think she did say.
Now see where it says relax in?
Uh-huh.
$24.95 up.
Where?
We're gonna turn
What's that big deal over yonder with the mountain?
And as we turn real slow, these cars will go by us and we can go straight.
Yeah.
Oh, we already passed the courthouse, so I don't know what that is up there.
I don't know, I'm gonna try to get it on tape. And it's just an odd angle, I can't hardly see it, but I'll get it in a minute.
College of some sort, maybe.
Let's see, let me put it up down. Try to get it.
It's almost more visible from
Yeah,
far
far
away.
away. Wow, that's beautiful, whatever it is. It's definitely something pretty important to sit up there like that. Old Courthouse Museum. That's the old courthouse. Now we know. Yeah. Yeah, I can't get it focused. There it is.
Head back out toward the hotel. This way?
No, we were on that one, right?
This one?
I think. I don't know. So take us home down by the. That's where.
It's beautiful, isn't it? You need a biscuit company.
There's another coach on.
Oh yeah, an old timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it was right past the BMW.
Yeah.
Look at the cannon there.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
That's a Confederate one there.
Yeah, CSA naval gun. Wow. Sure, buddy. Did we? He turned around.
Yeah, me too.
Now look like to me.
Trust me, I don't know.
No, this is where we come from.
Oh,
We're gonna end up going.
Okay. Well, should I stand beside him on the side so it won't cover up the picture?
Get that camcorder. Right.
Okay, this is Fred by his Coke sign.
No. No. Hang on. You ready? Okay, we got you. Thank you. All right, plug.
Yeah. Indiana, a lot of these are state monuments, you know.
Oh, we read about this, yeah, $4.
and that's open till 9 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. What's that?
10 pound.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. In front? You want us in front? Showing how they fortify against bombardment and siege. And there's the visitor center up there, which we're going to go to now. Pittsburgh battlefield.
Today is the last flower I'm taking life. After this come beans, rice, sugar, and food. A flag of truce went out twice today. Conjectures are varied. You are about to hear our reading from the diary of Major William A. Brennan, Confederate States of America.
Have your attention, please. This last time, for those of you who are not equipped with fireworks,
By April 1862, 2 years into the ordeal of war, Memphis was in federal hands, and the federal fleet had bombarded, captured New Orleans. Confederate forces now began to concentrate and fortify strongholds along the Mississippi. One of these, Vicksburg. First with batteries below town, commanding an approach from the south. Then, all along the river and to the north. 4 miles of waiting cannon. Wasn't long before Vicksburg became known as the Gibraltar of America. She could not be attacked by water, and getting past her on the river was all but impossible. Vicksburg is the key. The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket. The campaign, late in March 1863, when the river began to recede and the roads to dry out, Grant made his move. He marched his main force down the west bank of the river, down 200 miles of bottomland and bayou, building bridges and corduroy roads each step of the way, moving cannon, supplies, and ammunition. Progress was slow, the environment hostile, the work backbreaking, but Grant's objective was clear. On the night of April 16th, while Grant was cutting his way through Louisiana swampland, a courageous Union gunboat, the Benton, under command of Rear Admiral David Dixon Porter, steamed silently silently south through the black waters of the Mississippi. Behind her, 3 supply transports, 7 gunboats, including the mighty ironclad Tuscumbia. They would attempt to run the gauntlet, the impossible, to slip past the batteries of Vicksburg. The night was black and moonless. The only sounds were that of the night and muffled engines. For an anxious hour and a half, 20 ships took the pounding of startled cannon. For an hour and a half, his gunboats poured shells into the streets of Vicksburg, illuminated now from bales of cotton and houses set afire by the rebels to light the river. When Porter drew his battered fleet to shore south of Vicksburg to wait for Grant, only 1 transport was missing. Contrary to reason, Porter had made it. At Tisheroon's plantation, a slave informed Grant that there were roads, good roads, and no cannon at Boonsburg, just across the river. Grant moved with amazing speed. By daybreak of April 30th, he was on the river in Porter's boats with 10,000 armed and ready men. Not a shot was fired, and his deeply relieved army stumbled ashore at Boonsburg Landing. After 6 months of exhausting maneuvering, not a Confederate was seen as the army grouped and began its march inland on the Mississippi soil. By late afternoon, they had reached Windsor Plantation, about a mile inland. Here, 1 division rested and ate their rations under the trees. Still, no enemy in sight. Sunset found them passing Bethel Church, now noisy, confident, boisterous. The inland campaign had begun, but the worst was yet to come. In Vicksburg, Pemberton was torn. He had been begging his superior in Jackson, Joseph E. Johnston, for reinforcements, separately pleading to President Jefferson Davis that his situation was desperate. Charged with defending a huge area, Johnston clashed with Davis and his subordinate, Pemberton. In spite of this, Pemberton had managed to garrison some 30,000 men in Vicksburg, and during that uneasy winter had built strong fortifications on its naturally defensible heights. What he had not done was to form a highly mobile strike force to parry an invasion attempt. His officers, Major General William W. Lloyd, Stevenson, Gray, and Major General John S. Bowen. It was Bowen's small command that would meet the full force of Grant's approaching Yankees. On the night of April 30th, the day he came ashore, Grant was marching unfired upon, confident, into Fort Gibson. When suddenly, out of the dense woods, Bowen struck with 8,000 swinging men. But Bowen couldn't hold the Union soldiers. He was outnumbered 3-1, and he was outfought. His ranks broke, and the rebels turned and ran, back into the tangled growth, back into the swamps, back into the little town of Fort Gibson. As the new day dawned, the battle raged anew. Townspeople ran for cover, terrified, and soldiers died on its once quiet, tree-shaded street. Grant was literally smashing Confederates out of the way, through the town, into the vine-choked swamp, then across the bridges over Bayou Pierre. But as they fled, they fired the bridges behind them, leaving them charred and smoldering, hoping to slow Grant down. In spite of his defeat, Bowen had cost Grant more than 800 casualties. By this time, Pemberton was sending telegrams, demanding reinforcements. Johnston wired back, "If Grant's army lands, the safety of Mississippi depends on beating it." After 3 days and 3 nights of pushing the rebels inland, U.S. Grant halted his bone-weary Army of the Tennessee at Little Sand Creek to rest and wait for Sherman. For 5 days, unmolested, his men swam and bathed, cleaned their clothing and mud-caked equipment, and prepared for the battle before them against uncertain odds. Sherman arrived, and the Yankee force moved out swiftly, now more than 35,000 strong. Pemberton tent, but to his surprise and certain relief, the Federal force moved northeast toward Jackson, rebel supply and communication center. Johnston sent a brigade from Jackson to join Bowen. Unite your forces, he had wired Pemberton. Concentrate, attack, stop the Yankee column. But Pemberton, under orders from President Davis to hold Vicksburg, would not risk his army. He waited. But he had sent Bowen forward with a new brigade. The rebels hit Grant with a vengeance to the village of Raymond. They hit savagely and broke the Yankee line. Grant's advanced troops were forced back, some ran. But again, the rebel was overcome by the battle-hardened Westerners, and again, he had to break off and retreat. Grant was now deep in hostile territory between two large armies, Pemberton at Vicksburg and Johnston in Jackson. He was cut off from his main supply bases, and man for man he was outnumbering. But he never had to meet the full Confederate force. With an audacity and speed that thoroughly confused the rebels, he marched on Jackson. Johnston was deeply angered. He again wrote Pemberton to unite and attack, this time at Clinton. To make sure Pemberton got this message, he sent 3 runners. But one of them was a Union spy, and by the next day, Grant also knew the plan. Pemberton relayed the urgent message to Loring at the Big Black and rode hard to Edward Station, where Bowen was regrouping to order the attack. But he was uncertain. Bowen was all for hitting Grant at Clinton, but Loring and others offered another plan: attack the supply trains to the south. Pemberton acquiesced. By the next day, Confederate soldiers were marching southward, every step of the way taking them further from Jackson. Grant stormed Jackson on May 15th, tore up tracks and telegraph lines, captured supply stores. He would not waste combat troops on occupation. He would neutralize Jackson with the torch. The next day, Grant turned his eager army due west to Vicksburg. Johnston ordered Pemberton, demanding he group at Clinton, make a stand. This time, Pemberton obeyed, or tried to, but the Yanks were already in sight. Already shooting into his ranks. He fell back, stopped to fight, turned and fell back again. Grant caught up at Champion Hill. Here, the rebels turned to rally. Here, from the high ground, they had a chance. Bowen's unit unleashed a vicious counterattack, and Grant buckled under the full fury of desperate men. If he lost Champion Hill, he would lose Mississippi. But he held. He held till the valley stank of death. On the 16th, Pemberton pulled back, shaken, to the line of the Big Black. Behind him, 790 soldiers, blue and gray, lay dead at Champion Hill. At the Big Black, Pemberton held the bridges for Loring's men, but Loring never came. He had been cut off by rapidly moving Federals. Grant came smashing through instead, taking cannon and prisoners as he went. He lost only a few men at the Big Black River, for Pemberton, and what was left of his field army, ran to the cover of the Vicksburg batteries. There, they manned the works and waited for the Union onslaught. After a year of bloodshed, Grant was at the door. On the morning of May 19th, positive of a quick victory, Grant ordered a general assault on the Vicksburg stronghold. But the rebels held. Grant out front. Corps commanders watched the minutes tick. Men could not gain permanent entry to Fortress Vicksburg. The blue line was broken before the massive earthworks of the Citadel. That day, the rebel guns claimed 502 Union lives. Johnston advised immediate evacuation. But following Davis's orders, Pemberton ignored Johnston and decided to remain in hope of relief. Surprised, Johnston wired that he would send fresh troops if possible. Meanwhile, Grant settled down to a war of attrition. Siege. The Union lines tightened, and the Federal bombardment threw shot and shell hours on end into the city. For 6 weeks, the siege continued, day in and day out. For 6 hot, muggy Mississippi weeks, the rebel troops were pinned in their trenches, unprotected from sun, unsheltered from rain, waiting for Johnston. Inch by inch, the Union lines moved closer, digging tunnels and trenches, sometimes to within only a few yards from rebel troops.
When you all come to Vicksburg, small business!
Not till you Joe better matter.
What's the hole here, gang? Watch out, Johnny! Yeah, Rip!
But Johnston did not come, could not come. For 6 agonizing weeks, the citizens and soldiers of Vicksburg held, but their cannon had fallen silent for lack of ammunition. They were living underground and in caves to escape the murderous pounding of cannon and heavy mortar. Their food was gone, their water rationed. They were starving, sick, exhausted. On the 3rd of July, Pemberton sent out a flag of truce. He met Grant between the lines, and the 2 generals sat and talked while aides worked out surrender terms. On the 4th of July, 1863, the valiant men of the Confederate Army filed out of their trenches and stacked their arms. As Grant marched his tattered troops through the streets of Vicksburg and down to the waterfront, they were hushed by what they saw, by what they had wrought. But the Mississippi was open to commerce again, and the military power of the Confederacy weakened. It was a classic campaign, one that professional soldiers still study. Amphibious assaults, forced marches, sophisticated logistics, counterintelligence, and finally, a siege, in which courage and endurance were commonplace. More than 100,000 men, man and boy, had met and fought for the fortress on the river. And the river, indifferent, enduring, wandered down 1,000 open miles from Illinois to the sea.
Major monumentation, and in between these, I will give you general information on the events and people involved here at Vicksburg. Now, when I tell you we should be at a point, and you aren't there, don't worry. Just turn off the cassette recorder until we arrive, and then turn it on again as we leave. If you drive at the recommended speeds, we shouldn't reach any points in advance. Let us begin the tour by driving between 15 and 20 miles per hour.
Anything y'all want to see?
Just remember to turn off the cassette recorder anytime you stop.
Okay.
We will drive under the Memorial Arch and travel back into the summer of 1863, a time in which one of the great struggles ever to occur on North American soil took place among these hills.
Great man cannons and things around. Oh, yeah. And then Hamburg's like this, and like that.
Yeah.
As we round the bend, follow the orange directional markers and bear to the right.
Those Colorado roads, it was like
As in any civil war,
yeah.
at Vicksburg, brother fought against brother, and men died over principles they held dear. However, here, more than principles were at stake. These men fought from an inspiration that lay only a short distance from their trenches. The Mississippi River, father of waters, divided by strife. President Abraham Lincoln, viewing a map when war was going badly for his nation, remarked, "See what a lot of land these fellows hold, of which Vicksburg is the key. War can never be brought to a close until this key is in our pocket." Along the road, you can see emplacement markers dedicated to individual units which fought among these hills. The states of Illinois and Indiana have identical markers in most locations that their men fought. However, Ohio chose to erect totally different emplacement markers for each unit, stand as individual memorials to the units that served at Vicksburg. Ohio considered this to be more appropriate than building one large state memorial.
They're talking about the Ohio one at the
You
beginning.
should now see the 100-foot tall shaft of the Minnesota Memorial ahead to the left. Woman, symbol of peace, is depicted on the memorial carrying a laurel wreath to the troops.
That's it, yes.
You can see
passed
behind the
it, yeah.
memorial on the left.
I think we passed it.
No emplacement. Union troops constructed the emplacement, but the siege ended before a gun could be mounted. If you have not yet arrived at the gun emplacement, please turn off the cassette recorder and turn it on again as you leave.
He's talking about the Ohio back there. That was
yeah.
the first set
Right
of
in the
monuments.
middle of the Union lines. This area was commanded by Major General James B. McPherson, whose
There we go, we just
positions
passed
were
that
the
walk
3rd
up.
Louisiana Redan and the Great Redan, both of which you will soon see on a nearby ridge. These Confederate forts guarded the Jackson Road entrance into the city of Vicksburg. As you drive along the Union line, remember it parallels the Confederate defenses that were generally located on the
Oh, okay, yeah.
to our left.
That's what the
Union and Confederate lines formed a double crescent around Vicksburg, terminating on the Mississippi River at points both above and below the city. Union entrenchments began when Grant determined Vicksburg would only be captured through sea. Grant's army then received reinforcements of 6 more divisions, increasing his force to over 70,000 men. The effective number of Confederate soldiers, however, lessened with each passing day, dropping from 30,000 to 18,000 troops fit for duty by the close of the siege. At the upcoming intersection, the left turn left will follow the orange directional markers and will continue straight.
Missouri is turned around.
Excitement soon dissolved into boredom under the hot Mississippi sun. The blue and gray night pickets often posted lookouts to signal the approach of officers. Then, free of detection, they visited one another through the night. Shortly, we will see the Michigan State Memorial. We will first approach it from the back, then follow the road around to the front. Although the monument is made of granite and extremely hard substance, notice the beautiful detail of a woman at the base. If you've not yet reached the memorial, turn off the recorder and then turn it on again as we leave. Thanks.
Track 3 when we get there. Wonder if it was, I'm sure it was, real woody like this when the battle started. It would not have been when they
Got done.
got done. I know it seems like I'm going through here fast, but we got 16 miles of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. 16 miles.
Takes a lot of work, keep your smoke and everything.
There's a lot of monuments in this for this battle.
There sure is.
At upcoming parks stop number 1, please pull over. I will take 2 minutes to describe action in this area. The row of cabins on your left is aimed over a 600-yard expanse called the Great Redemption, an earthen Confederate fort which stood vigil over the lower ground we now occupy. The redoubt also guarded the Jackson Road entrance to the
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Grant first assaulted the rebel lines at 2 o'clock on the afternoon of May 19th. The attack was to concentrate on the entrances to the city in hopes that the rebels, who had recently retreated into Vicksburg, could be overpowered. General James McPherson's troops, despite several attempts here in the Union Middle, never seriously threatened the Confederate stronghold. Grant allowed 2 days' rest, then staged a simultaneous attack by the commands of Generals McPherson in the middle, McClernand on the left, and Sherman on the right. Rebel defenses were shelled all night prior to the assault, and on the morning of May 22nd at 10 o'clock, McPherson's troops, which deployed close to the front, charged through the unprotected no man's land area and put the individual civilian with several warriors in place to protect. Early charge was met by a hailstorm of cannon and rifle fire, ladders of which backed from the fort, and those intended to weather its words and snow. The determined troops,
Yeah.
After the May 22nd defeat, McPherson's corps was placed up to 22 guns in this location to show the lost his life to
Lincoln said about Grant about this battle, about
General James McPherson's troops, despite several attempts to get in the Union Middle, never seriously threatened.
he said, I like this this Grant he fights.
Oh, yeah.
And then the complaints that the other said.
They're complaining to Lincoln. Said, yeah, but he's a drinker. He drinks. He's like, let's find out what he drinks. He said, a doll might.
Right, I heard that.
Yeah.
Generals McPherson in the middle, McClernand on the left, and Sherman on the right. The rebel defenses were shelled all night prior to the assault.
We're still back there replaying that one battle.
McPherson's troops, which deployed closer to the front, charged through the unprotected no man's land.
Yeah, this
20-foot ladders,
shrubbery and stuff wouldn't have lasted.
the walls and breaking down. Union charge was met by a hailstorm of cannon and rifle fire. Ladders were pushed back from the fort, and those attempting to enter its walls were stopped. The determined troops fought until 8 o'clock in the evening. Then Grant's 3 corps regrouped under cover of
From May 16th
to find that their loss in dead and wounded
killed 20, wounded 155, missing 7.
After the May 22nd defeat, McPherson's corps placed up to 22 guns in this location to shell the Great Redoubt. We will drive along the front of the white-framed Shirley House, which is stop number 2.
There's a big
It is a
one.
Shirley House,
Oh, yeah.
parking lot opposite the Illinois Monument located next to the house. The Shirley House, termed the White House by soldiers here at Vicksburg, is the only surviving wartime structure in the park. Mrs. Shirley, who had refused to leave her home, found herself trapped between the crossfire of the dueling soldiers. After displaying a white flag in her window, she hid, and 3 days later a ceasefire was negotiated. Mrs. Shirley and her son were then escorted into a ravine below her house, where they lived for a time in a cave. The Illinois Memorial is the largest monument on the field, modeled after the Pantheon in Rome. This memorial temple is dedicated to the 36,290 Illinois men who fought at Vicksburg. Their names are inscribed within on bronze plaques. The Illinois State Commission specified that no device indicative of war should appear on the memorial. If you want to park or visit the memorial or the Shirley House, please turn this tape off and on again as we leave. We will now continue a short distance to the end of the road to park stop 3, the third.
Okay. Pantheon in Rome. Wow.
I guess if you're Illinois and gonna put up your monument, try to outdo
Randy.
Apparently they have every name of all their troops that fought there.
Yeah, they do have some big ones like this, yeah. I think they have one. My goodness. Names. Give you an idea, like they since you're listed, all each individual name, every one of them, and then just get an idea that on every one of these flags, it's that way clear around the entire building. There it goes again. And all those people fought in this battle just from Illinois, that's not counting all the other states and the Confederacy. Man. Okay.
Well,
I've heard about the Battle of the Prater.
Which exploded July 1st, did significant damage that was not followed by
Yeah.
infantry assault. If you wish to
I don't know if it's down
you
here.
may walk the path marked by blue flags to the top of the redoubt. There you will see the great redoubt and experience the commanding presence of the Confederate positions. At this time, please turn off the tape, then on again as we leave the parking lot.
There we go.
Well, it's amazing, right over there, we're on the Union side.
And I know a lot of monuments in Gettysburg, I don't think there was any here that many, was there?
They sure are. Even at Shiloh had a lot, but I don't think they had this many.
Of course, it could be they'll run out after we get into
Yeah.
Yeah.
more of a spread out area. But this is really where the siege
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Remember Washington first? Carried the book down to
Could have taken 3-4 after
Uh-huh.
the log.
Yeah.
West Missouri, supporting Third Louisiana footstep.
North of Vicksburg. It was defeated with heavy losses and is now known as the Battle of Chickasaw Valley. Grant spent the remainder of the winter on the Louisiana bank of the Mississippi. He occupied his army in construction of a canal designed to bypass Vicksburg. The project failed, but did serve to keep his men physically fit for the spring offensive. At the last, winter floodwaters receded from the Louisiana Delta, and Grant's army struggled south along the Muddy River roads. The march continued almost a month until, on April 29th, the Union Army halted at a landing appropriately named Hard Times. The next day, Grant's force was ferried across the river and onto Mississippi shore. May 1st, the Federals terminated the Battle of Port Gibson, then marched northeast where they won the Battle of Roanoke. Grant next seized Jackson, Mississippi, then turned west toward Vicksburg.
This is so spread out the battlefield. I bet you can come out here with a metal detector and still find a lot of stuff. It's not like it's all one area where they can look at it over
They marched and fought their way over 200 miles in less than 3 weeks. The Confederate Army, badly beaten and demoralized, were now sealed within the fortified city, where they resolved to hold their ground until reinforcement had dismantled 2 12-pound cannons, and with the aid of General Ransom's infantry, dragged the guns down the path to within 100 yards of the Confederate lines. The cannon were then reassembled and placed back into action. If you've not yet arrived at
I just can't get over how many statues and people and monuments on this battlefield.
Big monuments.
I know it, and I've been on the battlefield. I've never seen anything close to it. Shiloh has a lot, but my word.
Gettysburg, which had a lot more people.
Yeah.
Didn't have this many monuments.
I know it. So they said it was equivalent to taking a Richmond, huh?
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice monument there.
Yeah.
He was surrounded, but not yet defeated. Earlier, Union General William T. Sherman opposed the plan for attack and capture of the river city, fearing it would lead to the defeat of Grant's army. He even wrote in a letter to his superior that any Confederate general would gladly maneuver a year to catch Grant's army, where he was willingly placing it with 1 foot in the Mississippi River. Grant chose not to treat the letter as official and destroyed it. Later, when Grant and Sherman rode through this area, approaching Vicksburg for the first time, Sherman confessed he now had every confidence in a successful campaign.
Spread out, what?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. Union, Missouri.
Something for second division, I can't see it. For this shadow.
Right. That's his battlefield, I tell you.
It's Virginia.
Wow.
Ohio.